Hello, good morning. We're gonna explain the webinar regarding company information and residence permits in Spain. First, I will explain everything regarding the corporate aspects of company information in Spain, and then my colleague Marc Fernandez de la Peña, who is our immigration specialist in Madrid, he will take care of all the aspects of resident permits and visas in Spain. I will try to go quick because I understand that it will be more interesting. You will be more interested in what he has to say in your interest to come to Spain, but at least so you can have a basic idea of what are the requirements to create a company in Spain, the different steps, and how long can this take. First place, just so you can know that we are able to create your company in Spain with a power of attorney. That means that we'll be able to prepare a power of attorney that you can sign in your home country with your notary in your own city. That power of attorney will have to get the apostille if your country is one of the countries that is in this kind of agreement. Or alternatively, you will be able to come to Spain and sign the power of attorney at a Spanish notary. If you decide to sign the power of attorney abroad, you just have to be sure that all the documents that you sign with this notary get this HAG apostille, which you can see in the screen. That is a simple stamp that is incorporated at the end of the document. The first step that we have to take care of when we receive all the documents that you sent to us is to get the NIE for physical persons, for individuals, and the NIE for companies. Regarding the NIE, you have to be aware that this number, and then Marc, he will explain more about the residency that you can get in Spain, but this number that we get at the beginning of the company information process is, it doesn't give you any residence in Spain, it doesn't give you any tax obligation in Spain, it's just a number to identify you with the Spanish administration. There are two options for individuals. Like the standard one will be to obtain a NIE, which is a foreign identification number that we get at the police with the power of attorney that you have granted to us. And a similar thing, but for companies, is this Spanish tax number, the NIF. For obtaining the NIF, normally what we get is we collect all the documents from the company that you have sent to us, that you obtained from your home corporate registry. And with these corporate documents, with the apostille, we get a Spanish translation, and we go with all this to the Spanish tax office to obtain a number. We can also do that with the power of attorney, and we need to provide a certificate from the commercial registry. We need to provide the company bylaws to show the tax office how the decisions are taken in your company, and how you have decided to grant us the faculties to obtain a Spanish tax number to identify your company in Spain. This number is only necessary if you need to create a subsidiary company in Spain, but of course you can create it as an individual, and this number won't be necessary in that case. Then the company formation process in itself. Just you should know, like, the two basic types of companies that you have in Spain are the limited company and the public limited company. The limited company is called Sociedad Limitada, and the public limited company is called Sociedad Anónima. There are many similarities in the functioning of both types of companies, but there are also some difference. And without getting into much detail, so you know that Sociedad Limitada is the one that is broadly used in most cases because it has a lot of flexibility. So it's used for very small companies, family companies, but also for large groups of companies that set up their business in Spain. We have in our firm clients with Sociedades Limitadas that have thousands of employees. So this would normally be the most appropriate option for creating a company in Spain. We only advise Sociedad Anónima for cases where the regulation of the sector expressly imposes the obligation to create this type of company. If you want to go public to use your company, to incorporate your company to any of the stock markets available in Spain. But as I said, normally with a sociedad limitada, you would be more than able to operate in Spain without any kind of constraint. First step, the company name. I always say to clients that this is the most the funnest part of the process. So they try to send us 5 names that are imaginative or fun, because sometimes people, they just make the same names that are boring and non-differentiated, and at the end they are the ones that are normally not admitted by the registry because are very similar to other ones. So we normally ask you for these 5 names, and we advise if we consider that they are appropriate and that you will be successful in obtaining them. These names, they can be in any name, in any language. It can be in Spanish, in English, or in your mother tongue if it's different to English. The capital share. Well, for the Sociedad Anónima, the capital share is 60,000, while for the Sociedad Limitada is 3,000. Anyway, this is not a requirement in reality, because there are two options. First, you would be able to make a declaration that you have done this deposit, but without providing any kind of evidence. That's different from the past, where you had to deposit that amount in the bank, get a certificate from the bank, and bring that to the notary. Nowadays, when we do the notary deed, we can directly incorporate a declaration saying that the deposit of money has been done without providing any kind of proof, and that's it. Alternatively, it's possible to do contributions in cash. That can be furniture, it can be computers, it can be trademarks, different kinds of contributions that are non-cash are possible to be used for the purpose of creating a company. The register address. Well, you just have to know that you need to include a corporate address in Spain. We offer that service to our clients normally when we also they also take the accounting and tax filing services with us. So it will be possible to use our firm's register address either in Madrid or in Barcelona for as a register address in Spain. Well, the company bylaws. The company bylaws is the most complex part of the company information document, but in reality, they are normally very standard. The only change basically in the corporate name, corporate address, the register address, and the managing body of the company. And all the rest is normally quite standard, and it contains the basic regulation of how the company works, how decisions are taken, and the regulation, financial regulations when the annual accounts have to be submitted, which is also quite regulated by Spanish law in reality. In the last years, it has also become quite common not only to sign the company bylaws, which are compulsory, have to be registered at the commercial registry where the company is incorporated, but also to sign a shareholders agreement that in opposition to the company bylaws that are part of, that is an agreement between the company and their associates. The shareholders agreement in reality is more an agreement between the associates, and you normally include in that agreement everything that can be included in the bylaws. This means that even if the bylaws regulate the life and functioning of the company, there are some things that can't be included there because won't be registered, but by the registry they won't be accepted. So you include that in a separate agreement where you regulate, for example, different solutions to deadlock situations, limitations to the transfer of shares, agreements on the systems to control the management body. And it's something that can be more personalized, and we have quite a lot of experience in this type of agreement, so we'll be able to advise and prepare it for you. Company directors. Well, that's something very important, mainly to take the decision for the residence permits that Mark will explain afterwards, because sometimes those could be associated to the position of manager of the company. He will explain more about that if that's required or not. So just to know that it's possible to have one director, to have two directors that can act unanimously or independently, or to have a board of directors. Something very important, and it's also quite connected to the residence permit and the situation, the labor situation that you will have in Spain, is that depending on the percentage of shares that you have on the company, and if you are appointed as a company director, if you have more than, let's say, 33%, you will normally have to be registered as a freelancer, while if you have less than this percentage, you will be in a different social security regime. Just it's more complex than that, but so you have a basic idea that is basically associated to the control of the percentage of shares and the control that you have of the company, the different social security regime. If you are a non-resident, company director, you won't have to pay social security. While if you are residing here in Spain, you will have to pay your social security contributions as anybody else. Regarding the retribution of the managing body, this would normally be included in the bylaws, so the company is able to deduct this amount. If you put that the managing body is not retributed, if you get any kind of retribution, that amount won't be able to, the company won't be able to deduct that in their tax declaration. Foreign investment. Well, this is something quite bureaucratic. It's just a form that we prepare to inform the Spanish administration that there has been an investment by a foreign company or individual. Then once we have done the company information signature at the notary, when we have submitted this foreign investment declaration, we bring everything to the commercial registry. Something very important that is key to understand, that in Spain, when you create your company, you obtain a tax number, you get a VAT number. So you're able to operate with this VAT number. You can invoice different companies, and you can start with your activities here, but you don't get automatically an EU tax number. That's different from other countries, for example, like Portugal, that I'm aware, where when you incorporate a company, automatically you get this EU VAT number. Here in Spain, you get the VAT, but for obtaining this European tax number, it's necessary to pass through a process of tax inspection. And this tax inspection, it normally requires you to have a physical office in Spain, which is not necessary for for a normal company, and to have employees or someone who's able to explain and attend these tax officials when they visit the company premises. Well, the commercial registry that I mentioned before, and also something that is quite important. We are Abogados. We are part of the first platform, so we are able to do company formation for entrepreneurs, startups. Very quickly, because we do all the documents online. We prepare a single document that we send to the notary, we send it to the tax office, to Social Security, and the commercial registry. So like that, The expenses of the notary and the registry are less than in the normal company information process, and the deadline for the incorporation of the company is reduced from 2 weeks up to 4 or 5 days. Last thing, I will leave you with my colleague Mark. For the bank account, this is the only step that we are normally obliged to have the client here with us to attend a meeting with the bank officials, because they have their compliance procedures, and they need to identify who's the person behind the company that we have just created. So that means that you will normally be able to do all the company information process without coming to Spain, until the moment that we have completed all the corporate part of the company information process. We have registered the company at the commercial registry, and at that time we'll ask you to come here to meet with the bank, also to have the opportunity to speak with them about the conditions of the bank account, and get the details for the online signatures. But and after that, you will normally be able to manage the company from your country of origin without any other need to come to Spain. I will leave you with Mark, that he will explain in detail everything regarding the different residence permits and visas that you are able to get with a company. Okay, thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are watching our webinar. Well, as my colleagues say, I will talk about the different residence permits that you might need when you come to Spain, depending on the position and the relationship that you will have with the Spanish entity. So just know that there are multiple resident options in Spain, but we have to differentiate first the different profiles that we can find within a Spanish entity. As my colleagues say, there will be the director of the company that habitually is the administrator who is handling all the legal representative in front of third parties or in front of other administrations within the Spanish territory. So this is the first person that we'll talk about. Later, we'll talk about the partners, the persons who have shares, capital shares within the Spanish entity. And finally, we will talk very briefly about the different type of work permits associated with different type of profiles within the entity as an employees. So the first figure is the administration. As I say, this person will be the legal representative of the company in front of third parties or in front of other Spanish administrations. This person can have or not capital shares within the entity, and also can have directive and management functions or not. So we will determine one permit or another depending on the relationship that this person has with the Spanish entity. And this is having effective control of the entity. What is that? That is that the person has at least 25% or more of capital shares, and additionally, he also have management or directive functions in the same entity that he's his legal representative. In that case, if this person have effective control, the permit will suit with one of the two mentioned here that are for self-employment work permits, which is the cuenta ajena and the entrepreneur work permit. In the other side, if this person does not have effective control within the entity, then the relationship with the Spanish entity will be as an employee, and in that case, the work permit will be associated as an employee that can be as highly qualified or as cuenta ajena, which is another type of residence permit that in any case, we will talk later, and we will explain in detail all the difference and the requirement per each permit. So we have mentioned about the administration, and now we will talk about the partners. Partners, remember, are those persons, those individuals that have capital shares within the entity. Here, the relevant is how many shares the partners have in the entity, depending on the shares, and also, again, depending on the functions that he's handling within the entity, will be one permit or another. Just point that if half of the capital shares of the entity are distributed among partners and family members, it would be considered as the person have more than 50% of the capital, and in that case, the relationship will have to be linked with the self-employment work permit. This is cuenta ajena or entrepreneur. In the other side, as said before, if the partner does not have the minimum shares required by law or does not have directive or management functions, the relationship will be as an employee with a work contract, and then other different work permits will be applicable. So now we will talk about the difference between the two mentioned self-employment work permits. See that it will be the entrepreneur work permit and the cuenta ajena work permit. When does apply one or another? The entrepreneur mainly is when the project that is going to be developed in Spain and it is led by this foreigner entrepreneur, then will be potentially suitable for the residence permit. Before processing the residence permit, the entrepreneur will have to demonstrate that his project and the project that is handling the Spanish entity is considered innovative. For considering the project innovative, it is necessary to prove certain requirements, as for example, the creation of job employment, but mainly that the project is creating something new and linked with IT projects, like for example, big data, cybersecurity, softwares. These type of projects are considered innovative for Spain, and then very potentially suitable for the entrepreneur work permit. As I said, the condition of entrepreneur has to be first requested to the Spanish Ministry through a report. So before processing the residence permit, it is necessary to submit an application against the Spanish Ministry, and when it's approved that this project is interesting and innovative for Spain, then the person can start the residence permit. For the report, the timeline is 1 month, and for the residence permit, it will be 20 working days, which means that it doesn't count weekends and it doesn't count bank holidays. Comparing to the cuenta propia, which is at the end a permit that allows the individual to work as a self-employment in Spain, the cuenta ajena work permit is not very attractive in terms of timelines, also in terms of requirements, because it is mandatory to prove a lot of documentation related to the business, and also proving that you have everything almost carried out to start the business, which means that if you have to process license, or if you have to hire a local, or you have to show that to the administration before processing the residence permit, and sometimes it's hard to provide that documents if you don't have the choice to be in Spain and to start the business, and then you don't know if it's going to work or not. So the entrepreneur before starting the project, the government is allowing you to process the residence permit, and then it's much more benefit for the person to implement the project, and also to have a timeline more attractive for the business. Now we will talk about different type of work permits associated with employees. This means that, for example, we have partner who doesn't have capital shares, or doesn't have the minimum capital shares required by law to be under the self-employment relationship. But in case we have a partner, in case we have an administration that does not have also the minimum requirements for self-employment, we'll go to the following list, which are the residence permit for employees. So probably the permit that will be potentially applied for a company with directive functions, when the person have directing functions or are sufficient qualified, for example, technicians, or that can be software developers, or related to IT, whatever professional profiles that will be suitable with senior managers and so on, will be suitable for the high qualified work permit. This permit basically is seen for professional with an academic degree and professional experience. That's why I say that at least they have to demonstrate a senior experience. There are also some salary requirements. For directors, will be more than 60,000 euros per year, and for technicians will be 41,000 euros per year. As this permit has also a very attractive timeline for processing the residence permit, which as the entrepreneur has 20 working days. And then we have also mentioned other type of residence permit that will be, for example, the internship work permit, when the Spanish company want to hire a junior profile, someone that has just ended up studying in Spain or outside of Spain and can demonstrate that he or she has the diploma. You can also hire this employee under the internship work permit. And then other two different work permits will be the intra-company transfer work permit. This is when, for example, you create a company in Spain that, but you also have a company, for example, in Argentina. Then you want to transfer this employee to Spain for a temporary basis work. Then you can also apply for a work permit with this for this activity. Imagine that you send the employee to Spain for just 2 years because he has to develop a project that this is the only person who knows about that. And then you can also apply for the residence permit, and he will maintain his contract from the country where he came from. And this permit is also under the independent law, and the timeline is 20 working days. And finally, there is another type of residence permit for employees, which is the cuenta ajena work permit. This is more or less the same as a highly qualified work permit. The difference is the timelines, and also the way of acceding to this type of permit is much more complicated. But at the end, it allows the individual to work for a company, and well, this will be the listed work permits that you can find within an entity. And finally, I would like also to point on another residence permit that probably you have heard before. This is the Golden Visa. The Golden Visa is the investor work permit. Normally, you probably have heard that this permit is associated when a person buy a property in Spain for $500,000. But there are also different options for acceding to this type of residence permit. And one of these options will be that the person is investing in a business project that is considered interest for Spain. What is interest for Spain? Normally, it is they will check if the project that the person is investing in is creating jobs in the region that he's investing the money. Also, if there is a economic impact in the region, and also it will be very attractive for that to point on the innovative of the project. If, for example, the person is investing $500,000 on a company that is creating software in Spain, for example, will be an option for the golden visa. But there is no certain amount of investment for this type of resident. It's something that the government will evaluate depending on the impact of the investment in the project. For example, if the person is investing in a company that it's almost going to close because they don't have money enough to pay the employees. If you invest money on that company and you maintain the employments, this is something that can be suitable for this type of residence permit. And it's very attractive because it doesn't require effective residence in Spain. And then you can choose between being tax resident in Spain or not, because you don't have to be in Spain to maintain the residence permit. And again, as the other permits within the entrepreneur law, the timeline is quite fast. In 20 working days, you can obtain the residence permit. And well, this will be a general idea of the different type of work permits in Spain. And well, now if you want to make us questions, feel free to do it, and we will be pleased to answer you. I think the first is about your issue.
Well, regarding the EU VAT, as I said, normally this number is only obtained once you have passed a tax inspection here in Spain. Each inspection is different, but normally they will require you to prove that you have already some kind of relationships with other EU countries. This means that you have a contract or that you have invoices, and that you're planning to have commercial relationships with other EU countries, and so that this EU VAT number will be required. As I said, this normally implies a visit to your premises, having at least someone who is able to represent the company for this inspection, and to have some kind of physical presence here in Spain. Second one, when is it necessary to deposit the company's share capital? It is possible to deposit the share capital of the company, as it was done traditionally, and this will be done at the beginning of the company formation process. Like that, we will normally go to the bank, open a bank account, which will be frozen until the company formation process has been completed. And you will have to transfer these 3,000 euros, that is the minimum share capital for limited companies. You will have to transfer that amount of money, and we will obtain a certificate from the bank that will incorporate to the notary deed. Alternatively to that, you can just do the declaration that this money was transferred, and just do it so the accounting will be solid and will make sense once the company formation process has been completed.
Well, there are other two questions that are linked to my presentation, which are: which type of permit better suits for an administrator? As I said, everything will depend if the person has effective control within the entity, and this is possessing share capitals and having directive or management functions. If the person have these two requirements, then the permits that will potentially suitable will be the self-employment work permits, which is the entrepreneur, and the cuenta propia. In the other side, if the person does not have directive functions and share capitals, the relationship with the Spanish entity will be considered as an employee, and in that case, normally it is the high qualified work permit, the most suitable residence. And finally, there is another question, which is when does apply one permit or another? Well, as I said, everything will depend on the relationship with the Spanish entity. If that relationship is labor, which is with a work contract, then we have to check the different type of work permits associated as an employee that I have explained before, that normally will be the high qualified work permit. And if not, we have to check the self-employment work permits, entrepreneur and cuenta propia. And if the project is considered innovative, then we'll go with the entrepreneur. And last question. Since you're right. If the investment is on the Spanish stock market, it is considered for this purpose or has to be on a proper business?
Yeah.
Understand?
Regarding the investment, the 1,000.
No, the investment has to be done the company, but there is no requirement of how you invest. For example, you can invest in share capitals, the amount, or you can also invest on providing just simply capital for one project that you want to buy a company property, or you want to buy products that will be on the market. Then you are also creating, jobs, and you're also creating an impact. So it's not determined on which type of investment you have to do it for being a golden visa investor in business. So it's something that that AGN can evaluate if it's suitable or not. But in any case, it's very general, and it has to be checked in detail, case by case.
So I think that's all. Thank you very much for attending this webinar and for hearing us. And we are both able to talk with you on the phone or by email. I think our emails are in the presentation. So or if not, our colleagues, they will forward them to you. If you have any other doubts, they will be happy to answer and to try to help you setting your business in Spain and with your residence and visa requirements for visiting and live with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.